I used to be hyper focused on cultivating confidence and building self worth from this vantage point or belief that I was devoid of it, that I inherently didn't have it. And that kept me in perpetual cycles of healing. However, once I realized that that was a lie, and I received the truth that I am whole, that I am supremely confident, that I am limitless possibility, and that my shadow or my light work was actually removing the veils of illusion and or ignorance that would make me believe otherwise. As soon as I started to move from that space, I stopped trying to develop confidence from this place of depletion and receive that I already have it. Receive my own divinity. And the people that I was around began to reflect that bountifulness. It was such an incredibly empowering place to be. And as a result, I'm able to do this work, this light work, from the deep belief that I am whole, that I am abundant, and that I am loved. Hello, divine beings. It is your girl, Abiyala Akani. I am the founder of the non-performative online yoga school, IA, and I'm happy to be here with y'all with a new video and a continuation of our Divine Feminine Healing series. If you are new to my channel and this is your first time seeing my face, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. Make sure that you check out the other videos within our Divine Feminine Healing playlist. And for everyone watching this right now, take a moment to stop what you're doing and focus. I have been working on relaunching my Divine Feminine workshop that's going to be launching in the fall. It's a really special workshop, and I want to make sure that you do not miss out and that you're alerted as soon as I make this announcement. So pause the video and head to the link in my description box. Put your email in there so that you're notified as soon as I make this announcement, and then I'll join you right back here for the rest of the video. All right, y'all. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into today's topic, which is a pretty extensive, pretty dense, pretty juicy topic, right? How to begin to rewrite your self-worth, or to rewrite low self-worth, and how to begin to esteem yourself. Now, the reason why this topic is so damn juicy is because there's so many of us out there who are experiencing this. I know I'm not the only one who has done a lot of work in my shadow, moving through this energy and alchemizing this energy to begin to really esteem myself so that I can see the true value, the true nature of my own essence and sit in awe of that, even if my external reality is saying otherwise. So that's what we're going to get into today. I'll be sharing 4 ways that you can begin to rewrite low self-worth and to begin to esteem yourself. And these are very practical ways that we can begin to do this work, that we can begin to really esteem ourselves back up to our true nature. I'm trying to take it out of the woo, make sure it's applicable and practical for you to begin to do these things right now, today. First things first, let's talk about how we develop low self-worth. The biggest influence is our family, our upbringing, and what that experience was like for us. Our formative years, usually from the age of 0 to 13, are very, very important years because we're super malleable. And it's during that time that we start to kind of begin to cultivate our understanding of the self. Now, the self is this person that I'm experiencing in my body. There's a lot of information out there that says that that self is not necessarily real, but for the purpose today, let's assume that it is. And during those formidable years of 0 to 13, we are really learning, or rather creating, the self. And the way that we're creating the self is based on how we're experiencing life and the people around us and how they are reflecting us back to ourselves. Now, if those experiences that we're having with our family, if the way they're reflecting us back to ourselves is very negative, is very non-affirming, is very neglectful, is very rooted in a lot of shame and or guilt and or harm, then we begin to create a self, or we begin to create a perception of ourself that is rooted in similar vibrations or similar perceptions. And we perpetuate that as we get older. We start to define ourselves based on those negative or non-affirming experiences that our family reflected back to us, not really knowing that their reflection or their perception of how they were experiencing us isn't indicative of who we are, but it's indicative of who they are. But we're so young, we're so malleable, we're still learning so much, and we don't have that awareness at that time. So however they're pouring into us, even if it's coming from them, not indicative of who we are, we take that on as our identity. Now, the vantage point that we're moving from when it comes to our own self-perception is not from a place of wholeness, but from a place of depletion based on how and what our experiences with our family made us believe about ourselves. That is the vantage point that we're now coming from when we start to perceive ourself. And if it's a negative perception of the self, that keeps compounding. It leads to a lot of narratives that perpetuate cycles of constant healing because we start to believe that we're inherently broken, or that we're a burden, or this belief that goodness can't be sustained in our presence, something bad is always going to happen. All of those narratives are coming from this vantage point of deep depletion based on our experiences with our family. It's not a true representation of who we are because it is from a place of lack and depletion. It's almost like we are working backwards or swimming backwards, trying to build our self-worth from a place where we believe that we have none. And that is not true. Please hear me. That is a lie. And if you had an upbringing that cultivated that belief, I want to affirm you and let you know that you are not alone in feeling that way. I can definitely relate to that. And it is a lie. It ain't true. Okay? The true vantage point is that you are a limitless being of pure potential, according to a lot of Buddhism teachings. And in the yoga teachings, it's the belief that you are already whole, and that as we continue on having this human experience as living souls, we are removing the veils of ignorance that would have us believe that we are not whole. But you notice the difference in that vantage point. It's the vantage point that I'm already whole, that I'm already limitless and expansive and abundant. And I'm more so removing the beliefs and or patternings of my mind that are causing me to believe otherwise, versus if you believe that you are devoid of worth, then it's almost like you're trying to work backwards to build it, but it's not something that needs to be built. It's something that you already have. So the first thing when it comes to, and if you look at me looking to the right, I'm just looking at my notes. So the first thing when it comes to rewriting a narrative of low self-worth is to discern that the experience that you have called yourself has actually been the experience, or has been how other people have experienced you. Let me say that again. The experience that you've had up until now, that you've called self, that you've called insert your name, or that I've called Abiyala, has actually been based on how other people have experienced me. So when it comes to rewriting low self-worth, is to really disallow the way other people experience you to interpret how you experience yourself, and to begin to prioritize your experience with yourself from a place of accurate knowledge and awareness. This is where a lot of the shadow and the light work comes in. So stop experiencing yourself based on other people's experiences with you. What that could look like is to begin to stop focusing so much on what people think about you. Stop utilizing that as a barometer of who you are. The more they like me, the more likable I am. The more they love me, the more lovable I am. That is not a barometer of who you are. And as long as that is what determines your worth will never be your own. You will never experience the fullness or the wholeness that already exists of your worth apart from another individual. It will be dependent on another individual. So removing how you identify yourself based on how someone else is perceiving you is the first way to rewrite the narrative low self-worth, and to begin instead to take ownership of your experience that you're having, and to begin to kind of look at and fully see, how do I see myself apart from how someone else is experiencing me? Clean that up. Get that in check, so that the eyes that you begin to see your external reality through, and the eyes that you begin to perceive and see yourself through, are clear, and you're able to truly receive your incredible divinity, your wholeness, and your true nature by discerning and seeing the areas of yourself you might not like, seeing those things, cleaning those things up, and beginning to cultivate the ability to see yourself as you are. Believe your wholeness for yourself. Believe it for yourself. You get to determine your nature. Begin to remove the veils that would have you believe otherwise. And you are already on the road of rewriting that low self-worth. And this is number one, but it's the biggest, most important one. And the reason why I wanted to start out with it, because it is the heftiest one. It's a big one, and it's one that we have to practice continuously over and over and over again. But then it feels like it's riding a bike. It just becomes second nature. Now, number two, when it comes to rewriting low self-worth. Oh, and we talked about this in my last video. Make sure you watch that, about how I've been balancing my root chakra. Number two is to meet your own basic needs. When you have and you're experiencing low self-worth or low esteem, there is such a deep codependency that we have with things outside of ourselves to give us a sensation of fullness or wholeness, to make us feel validated and feel seen, to acknowledge our presence and make us feel like we're worth something. And most of that's because we have not been able to address how to meet our own needs. So we outsource our needs constantly. Now, this is going to keep us in those perpetual states. Codependency, which as Black and brown folks, especially us as Black and brown women, sometimes there's this rhetoric that is constantly rehearsed in wellness spaces, and that's that we're always healing. And it perpetuates this belief that we're inherently broken. We are not. And that goes back to what I shared in number one. You got to move from the vantage point of depletion, that I'm trying to build confidence, I'm trying to gain something that I don't already have, and move from the vantage point that I am already whole. I am confident. I am worthy. What I'm doing is removing the veils that would say otherwise. In order to begin to do that, we have to begin to meet our own needs. One of the most beautiful ways that we can embody our divine feminine power is by meeting our own needs. That is such a place of deep reception. And once we can begin to do that for ourselves, the way the world responds, the way creation responds, is so profound, because we've already shown it how we are meeting our own needs, and anything else that's meeting us has to do that and more. But you can no longer outsource your needs. That is going to keep you in a perpetual state of low self-worth, because once again, it's cultivating a codependency where the external world is supplying the sensation that you're seeking. That has to come from you. That supplying has to come from you, so that you break the bondage of attachment and codependency to something else. So really beginning to meet your own needs by taking a moment, and this is actually the harder part, to discern what they are. And if you grew up in a childhood or had a childhood that was extremely neglectful or even slightly neglectful, this can be a hard question to ask yourself, but I want you to ask yourself and know that just by asking is an act of self-love. There is a way for you to begin to meet your own needs and service your own needs yourself. There is a way for that. That does not mean that we are not receptive of receiving that from a partner or receiving that from someone else. Being able to receive from another person is built by meeting your needs first. That is how we begin to esteem ourselves. Now, number 3 is also from my last video that I did on how I'm balancing my root chakra. And I'm sorry, y'all, there's these little, I got some plant gnats that I'm dealing with in the house. And so they're floating around, got my neem oil, but they are annoying me. Third thing is also from my last video about balancing the root chakra, and that is to celebrate your ability to meet your own needs. Because oftentimes, one of the things that we have, or one of the things that we're desiring, is validation, feeling seen. And the best way to do that is to celebrate your ability, validate your ability, see your ability to source and service yourself. When you meet your own needs, you are literally sourcing yourself through the power given by God. You're tapping into your own divinity. That is not a small feat, right? What you are doing when you do that is you are acting as the Godhead, or creating as the Godhead of your life. It's like an extension and power of God to source and create, and you're doing that for yourself. You're duplicating that same act for yourself. So see yourself in that, celebrate that. That is a huge thing. Receive the glory and the divinity and the love of that. That is not a small feat. And the more that you can validate that and see yourself in that, the more validation you are cultivating in your body. You are cultivating and creating self-love, and further solidifying that vantage point and narrative that I am whole, I am love. Look at the act of love that I just did for myself. Validate that, further cement that when you do it, especially if you are like an overachiever, an over-efforter like I have been in the past. You just do these incredible feats for yourself and or for others, then you just move on to the next thing. You do something magnificent, move on to the next thing. Just keep moving on, pushing forward for some big applause that you're going to get at the end of the road. No, give yourself those moments of celebration and applause as you go. Because what you are doing is you are cultivating more validation, more worthiness that you yourself are doing, that you yourself are creating. And then you're further cementing it by celebrating it. That is powerful, and there is staying power when you do that. You can notice when you get validation from someone else, it's like a drug. You're constantly wanting more and more and more, and it just keeps wearing off. But when you do it for yourself, it like sustains itself because you know how to do it for you, and it grounds into you even more because it's coming from the inside. Do not take that self-celebration lightly when you serve your own needs. Celebrate yourself in that. The fourth way that you can begin to rewrite low self-worth and esteem yourself is to surround yourself with community. Specifically, community that can do 2 and 3. Community that can help you meet your own needs. Once again, they're not meeting your needs for you. They're able to support you in meeting your needs because you have done it for yourself first. So they're able to mimic that. They have the capacity to do that for you because of the love that they have and the love that they're able to walk in, and they're able to celebrate you. Once again, they're not celebrating you for you. They're not doing that work for you, but they have the capacity to celebrate you because of the love that they have within themselves, that they themselves have cultivated on their own. When it comes to rewriting low self-worth and esteeming yourself, community, tribe, and this does not need to look like thousands of people. It's not about quantity, it's about quality, because finding people who have the capacity to love you at the level that you've loved yourself is not a quantity thing, it's a quality thing. Yet it's important to have that community. It could be like 2 or 3 people, it could be 1 person, but having those people in your life are so essential. They are like life-giving waters that replenish you when you are dry. Now, this is the last thing, because the first 3 have to come first. However, community is so important. Once again, it's about quality over quantity. I used to think it was all about surrounding myself with as many cool people as possible. Like, let me be around all the cool people. Let me like have all the dope ass folks that swagged out, who are dripped in sauce, who are getting all the attention. And I had all of that. And those were the most emptiest relationships and friendships that I've ever had in my life. Some of them were. Nothing about them were life-giving. Nothing about them were nourishing. And as a result, I didn't give any of them life. There was very little life that I had to give as well, but that was the quality of my own heart, right? And so I had to do these first 3 to begin to draw in people to support me at a greater capacity, because they've done it for themselves. It's not a lot of people, it's only a handful, and that's okay. Reducing the importance of quantity and instead highlighting quality. And the quality is determined by the heart work and the soul work that you do on yourself, for yourself. That community piece is real though, because there are only animals and or humans and other spiritual invisible beings on this planet, which means that we spend a whole lot of time interacting with other beings. Dagnabbit. Sorry, y'all. And that means that that interaction with other humans is extremely valuable. So make sure that interaction is the ripest, most righteous, most bountiful, plentiful relationship that it can possibly be. Got it. Ugh. So we covered all 4, and these are all very practical ways that you can begin to rewrite low self-worth and to esteem yourself because of this truth. You are whole. You are limitless, pure potential. You are a divine being of God, and your divinity is a spectrum that even I don't know. That is the truth. Remove the veils so that you can remember who you are. I hope this video resonated deeply with your heart and with your soul. Definitely let me know in the comments about what came up for you and where you are finding yourself in these 4 tips. Which one resonated the most, and which one are you ready and eager to start practicing and walking in right now? Don't forget to follow your girl on the gram at Yoga by Biala, and follow my online yoga school at ia.well. Make sure to click the link in the description box so that you receive my announcement on my upcoming workshop rooted in deep divine feminine wisdom. I'll see y'all again very soon with a new video. Continue to be well.